This section is for those test administrators that are giving different accommodations such as basic transcribing and oral administration. For basic transcribing, we do have some students that are receiving that are being able to type their writing compositions, and then they will print it out, and then that is transcribed onto the answer document per the test administrator. And we do have some students that are answering the gridded part. They're answering that in their test booklet, and then that will be transferred over. So there's some important procedures that need to be followed for that. First of all, making sure that your room is equipped. We need to work together on that and make sure that there is, for those of you that have a student that is using a computer for the writing, please make sure that there is a computer that is in there. I have been checking with Brooks. He's going to make sure that it does not have internet access or camera capability, but it does need to be hardwired to a printer, and we need to test that out. So being able to test them printing it out. They will be using Word for that, but spell check and those things will be taken off of that. So when they are finished with their writing composition, they will print that out, and then that will be transcribed over. But you will be transcribing that over in the testing room, not in the room with the other students. Okay, so it's important for you to know that the students that get basic transcribing get the full allotted time to be able to finish the test. The test administrator may transfer the student's final responses onto the answer document after the testing period has ended. It's important, though, that the student does not get a book to read and does not leave the testing room unmonitored until you're able to transfer those over, because the student is going to come with you down to the testing room to be able to make sure that you were able to transcribe what was intended there as far as for bubbling in. It's a breach of security if they've gone to the restroom and they did not have the still testing pass and they've been able to discuss with other people. So please make sure that as soon as they get done that you do slide the needs assistance card out so that someone can appropriately monitor your room and you can come down to the testing room along with the student. It is important that you always carry the test booklet and answer document. The student must not leave the room carrying that test. So you'll make sure and you'll do that and transcribe it in front of me. That way you have a witness. It just makes it a little bit more comfortable for everybody involved. Make sure for whenever we get to the math, when you're transcribing, there is a transcribing griddable questions student document that they need to have. So make sure that they have that extra document, that is in your testing bin on the day of the math assessment, which is not this go round, but the next one. Special instructions, it's important for the students to know, especially the ones that are typing out their written composition, about how much space they have. And so it does say here that for the answer document, the written composition, there's 26 lines. And so just to let you know, it's important to know that 26 lines of handwritten text is approximately 1,725 typed characters. So that way the student can know about how many characters it's going to take up, on the answer document. The test administrator or student can use a piece of scratch paper with the correct number of lines or a sample line page from the answer document from TEA's website prior to having the responses copied to the answer document. That way they can see about how much space it's taking up. So that's an option as well. All right, for oral administration, it is important prior to giving any oral administration of an assessment that the guide to test administration directions and general information about using the scripts, that this section is read ahead of time by the administrator. The test absolutely must be read in the order that the booklet goes. However, after the test, if a student wishes, they can ask a teacher to return to a certain section. But kids cannot have the questions read first. Make sure you have an extra booklet before leaving the testing room, and make sure that all of your students have the same test form. And then you'll also need to sign that second part of the oath after finishing any oral administration. And this just shows you a document of what's allowed on the math, science, and social studies. Well, social studies doesn't apply to you guys, but on math and science, the test questions and answer choices, everything in the test booklet, required reference materials as applicable, allowable supplemental aids, those can all be read on the math and science. On reading, test questions and answer choices, required reference materials, or allowable supplemental aids, but the reading selections can never be read. For the writing, required reference materials as applicable, allowable supplemental aids, and then the optional testing procedure for guidelines about reading the prompt aloud. But on the writing, the revising and editing passages or test questions or answer choices can never be read aloud. So make sure you adhere to that. That concludes this section of the testing training.